It's all out already. It's not even out yet.
Let's go to the... No, I want to go to the treehouse.
Every time I go in the bathroom.
As many people do. But essentially, they go to the treehouse.
I can't even make fun of it because that actually sounds quite good.
That's actually throw it against the wall and watch it crawl down.
Yeah.
In one.
My number one is... I don't know about you, right? But I like my planets to be around 8 degrees C. Okay.
Oh, it's Mars, that Mars thing.
And I want my oxygen levels to be around 14%. Right.
Oh,
and I also want
the card
9
game.
delightful oceans. Yes, you may have guessed from my incredible introduction there that it's Ares Expedition: The Terraforming Mars card game due in September of this year. 1 to 4 players, and it's essentially sort of answering the prayer of the 60 to 90 minute gamer. So what it does is it takes Terraforming Mars, distills it into a lovely half the time game of Terraforming Mars with the same feel. So it plays in about 60 to 90 minutes. So and it's just looks really good. And it's, the good thing about it as well is that it comes with player boards that are actually dual layer rather than having to spend £50 buying another set of dual layer. One thing that Stronghold Games know how to do is make money on making you buy the rest of the game after you've bought the game. But yeah, other than that, the game itself is wonderful. The Stronghold Games, not so much. So, and it's what it does, basically, it makes you choose which phase you want to do in this particular round. So, for 4 players, there are five phases that you could do, but you might only do 4 of them. You might only do 1 of them if everybody chooses the same phase. And if you whatever phase you put down, you get a little bonus during that phase. So it's a bit that's sort of a slight element of Puerto Rico, which is another one of my favorites. So it's just looking really, really good, and it's Terraforming Mars, isn't it? You know, I think just mention the word Terraforming Mars, you sell 1 million copies. So, and I think that's what they're going to do. So, I know for a fact that at least 22 people have bought a copy of it. So, me being one of them.
And I think there's half a dozen within the group of pledged for a copy, haven't they? I think.
I think so. Yeah, there was quite a lot. Adam knows more about that than I do, but there's definitely 20 people-ish around that area. That's like he's organised alone. So yeah, I think it's going to be very, very good. I'm looking forward to it.
Wow.
My number one.
Wow. Okay. Any guesses for my number one?
I've got an
Something to
idea.
do
I
with
think
Warhammer.
it might be Warhammer Cursed City.
Yes.
Warhammer.
Yeah. Just say the word Warhammer, it's bound to be in there somewhere. Yes, my number one is Warhammer Quest Cursed City. So every few years, Games Workshop releases a new Warhammer Quest board game with a new theme and a new setting, going back to the original Warhammer Quest, and then it was Warhammer Quest the Silver Tower. The latest one was a Warhammer 40k one, which was Warhammer Quest Dark Fortress, and a new one, which is currently in pre-order now for £125 from Games Workshop, including 60 Games Workshop miniatures, so actually pretty good value.
That's not bad.
Warhammer Quest Cursed City, set in the city of Ulfenkarn. So it's basically you are one of a group of sort of witch hunters or undead hunters, vampire hunters, hunting down various different undead horrors in lots of different scenarios. The board's obviously tile laying again, like we saw with Warhammer Quest Silver Tower and Blackstone Fortress. So I correct myself. So you're building each scenario will build a different board, and then you'll play through as one of the main characters, dealing with various different scenarios. So it's quite a lot of game in there, as you always get with the Warhammer Quest games. There's a lot of game in there for your money, a lot of miniatures. It looks really good. I really like the theme this time, a bit more than Silver Tower. It's very dark theme, very gothic, and it looks very, very good. The miniatures are up for you to view now on the website. Like I say, it's on for pre-order at $125. It looks like probably something I'm going to have to pester my partner for to be able to buy this year, because I definitely don't want to miss out on that. I missed out on the last couple of Warhammer Quest. I definitely don't want to miss out on this one. It looks amazing. That's my number one.
I think that I did read something the other day that they were looking at perhaps have sold out of the initial allocation.
I don't know. It's still up on pre-order now. So,
oh, is it? Oh, well,
yeah,
that's fine. It
so
must have been someone panicking then. I didn't read the article. I just saw a a post on something
The problem,
that I didn't read it, but
the problem that Games Workshop face when they release a game, which is true of a lot of the big board games and big miniatures games, is the bots buy them all up very quickly if they do a limited run, because they very often will do a limited run of the board games, like they did with Space Hulk, like they did with Dreadfleet, and they get bought up by bots and then they get sold on eBay for stupid money. But I don't think I think they've obviously had that issue a few times now, and I think they've planned against this. So I don't think it's going to be such a limited run. It'll probably be a time limited run. They'll probably only have it for sale for a year or 2 years, like they have done with previous. Although Blackstone Fortress is still available, so it might be available for a little bit longer. But hopefully that will sort of counteract all the bots that usually buy it all up.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone want to take a pass at Adam's number one?
I will. Is
Go
it
for it.
that Frostpunk?
Frostpunk, that's the one.
Yep,
Yeah.
Frostpunk, that's the one.
Is it
No, he
Frostpunk?
backed it.
The same
Frostbite.
temperature. I just found that funny though when Stefan was like, I don't want to miss out on this game this year, and John was like, sold out, mate, sold out.
Sold out already. Not even out yet. Sold out.
Knows how to cheer people up, doesn't he, John?
That's it, sorry.
Sold out already. Not even out.
Emmerdale's still available.
Additional allocation matters all that.
Yeah.
I
Same
didn't read
amount
the
of
whole
money,
thing.
you could get some stickers, right? So yeah, mine obviously as the
Animal
guest
stickers.
is Frosthaven. John mentioned it a little bit before. I'll go into a little bit more detail, but John kind of covered most of it. Playtime 30 minutes roughly per player. Dungeon crawler set in the Gloomhaven world, as John said. It's got 16 new characters. It's a standalone game, but you can use all the characters from all of the other Gloomhaven games in this one if you wanted to. There are 100 new scenarios in this one. What is different in this one? Well, first of all, I wouldn't touch this one unless you've played one of the other ones, whether it be Jaws of the Lion or Gloomhaven. And as Stefan pointed out before, if you didn't enjoy Gloomhaven, you're not going to enjoy this. So I wouldn't bother. But if you did, then you'll probably love this because they've took it to the next level. A little bit of difference. Loot cards they've introduced. So in Gloomhaven, everything that you kill drops money. In Frosthaven, they can drop all sorts of things: herbs, resources, items.
A bit of basil. Nothing says dungeon crawler than picking up a bit of basil. Oh, I've got some parsley. Can't beat it.
You can then use the herbs to make potions, and I think it was like a little chart where it's like a bit of trial and error on the chart to try and work out things. You can use the resources to construct items or buildings in the actual town of Frosthaven itself. Frosthaven is an outpost. It's on the brink of destruction, and we need to kind of go and help it survive. So as you play, these stickers on the board again, but this time you're actually building up the town. So you might, when someone retires in this game, for instance, they might decide to retire and open up a shop in Frosthaven. So a building appears that they've just decided to, I'm retiring and open up, settling down. You can use resources to build new buildings or defenses because I believe the Frosthaven gets attacked by something. So when you build up the town as well, that can sometimes attract new characters to come in. And so you'll have new options for when you do, start a new character after retirement. I believe there's more scenario variety in this one. In the last one, Gloomhaven, there's a few different things, but mostly it's kill everything. So apparently this one's like the next step up. There's a lot more variability. And I will say one more thing, though, about Gloomhaven and probably Frosthaven as well. If you're not playing with the right group, you're probably not going to enjoy it as much. We have a group where Stefan mentioned that there isn't much role-playing going on, but within our group, there kind of is, because you do take on the persona of that particular character, and you don't, even though you are supposed to be working together, if Simon dies in our group, it's quite funny, so we don't mind that at all. So yeah, I think it's like the next step up from Gloomhaven, and if it's done right, I think it could, take it to the next level. Release date October, November estimated, but we'll see.
Cool. All right.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Okay, anyone want to take a crack at John's number one?
John's number
You're not gonna guess it. You're not gonna guess it.
one. Something with stickers in and animals.
Yeah. Yours had stickers in.
Oh,
yours had stickers in, Adam.
Yeah, but not cute animals that you could play with.
No, just
because it's got little meeples in it. Yeah.
No.
So
I'll put you out of your misery. So put you out of your
Mars.
misery. I'm going to have to take you on a little journey to space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the ISS Vanguard.
Okay.
Yes, let me tell you a little story.
Please do, John.
Let me tell you a little story about the fact that the scientists have found a star map in our DNA. And we're going to set out into space and try and find out our origins on the ISS Vanguard. It's a spaceship. It's a space exploration game for 1 to 5 people. It's dice. A lot of dice. Sorry?
Is it Star Trek? Did you say?
No, ISS Vanguard.
Okay, it's just the introduction. Sorry, I thought it was a Star Trek.
Did you
William
catch that?
Shatner's in it, that's all.
Did you catch that when I said the name? William Shatner's not in it, unfortunately.
Oh.
Basically, it's dice-based, but not combat-based. But there's a lot of mitigation of the dice. But I didn't want to look at too much of it because a lot of it is it's story-based and there's a lot of surprises in there. So I didn't want to delve into it too deeply. I know there's a lot of dice involved, but it can be mitigated. Now, there's an interesting couple of things with this. It's split into 2 main phases. You've got a planetary phase and you've got a ship phase. Now, in your planetary phase, it's like the kind of books, a bit like Jay had earlier for Melon's game. What was it? Cantaloupe.
Cantaloupe.
And also stuffed fables and
love stuffed fables.
Comanauts, those kind of things with the binder book. So the space exploration, there's supposed to be about 40 different planets you can visit, I believe. And you take your different, you decide on what sort of ships you're sending down and what cargo they're carrying, that kind of things, and they give you various different benefits. Also, what crew you're taking with you. You explore the planets for resources and for clues about what you're actually doing. And then you've got a ship phase. Now, the ship phase has got something a bit different on it. It's actually a binder, like a ring binder. And through the various, you work your way through the various tabs of the binder. But supposedly the rules are all sort of, it's a game by Awakened Realms. So in the same way as this War of Mine, they try and introduce the rules as you play rather than you having to read a 50-page rule book. So everything you need to do in all of these sections of the ship binder are actually described on there for what exactly you need to do. So you might have to visit sort of Med Bay, you might have to go to the bridge. There's even a memorial wall for your past comrades and things like that. But within the binder, there are sort of plastic slots where you can slot in various characters, various cards, things like that. But like I said, I didn't want to delve too much into it because it's an emerging story kind of game. It's very basic. It sounded a bit like Gen 7, which myself and Jay and Rachel played a few games of, but it got very samey very quickly, didn't it, Jay, from memory, do you think?
Yeah,
but it seems it's a big production. It's not a Kickstarter, it's on GameFound, which is a new crowdfunding platform. Now,
John, did you back Heatherfields?
No, I didn't. No,
because
that's the same people Awakened Realms.
Yeah. They sent. I've got the art book for ISS Vanguard.
Oh right,
They sent it out as a promo thing, so you can have it.
Oh right. Ooh.
Wait a minute, just because it's his number one, I bet he's not even backed it. Let's just see. Let's see who's backed it and give it to them.
I've not backed it, but the pledge manager's not even.
Have you backed it, Adam?
John, you can play my copy.
Have you backed it?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Have you honestly?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
It looks very good.
I'm
yeah.
pleased to hear that.
right, I'll
the
give it
Pledge
Adam
Manager hasn't
instead,
actually opened yet. It's meant to open this month. And it's looking the last date that they gave, it said April, apparently. What I read on BGG. Apparently, it was the last date of when it was going to be out was August of this year. But I think it's more likely to get pushed into 22. But for all intents and purposes, it's supposed to be this year. Very thematic, emerging story-based game. Oh, and minis as well. Sundrop minis. There's a lot of Sundrop minis. But focus on exploring our horizons. That's ISS Vanguard.
Look forward to painting those minis for you, Adam.
The Sundrop minis, you don't have to. The Sundrop ones.
Okay. Anyone want to take a pass? Last one. Anyone want to take a pass at Jay's number one?
At Jay. Ooh.
No, it's too
I
weird.
have no idea, man.
Yeah, it could be anything, couldn't it?
Attempt to guess.
I couldn't guess.
Yeah.
He's got his
It'll be
fingers
like-
bad too much on the
You
pulse.
backed it, Adam, so it can't be that weird.
Have I?
Is it that hentai game?
It's got to be. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of which Kickstarter or game found I've backed that was made in the Congo by this guy. And it's only available there at the moment. And Jay's managed to get a copy of it.
It's true.
So yeah, my number one is it's a game that I watched a playthrough of, and immediately completely fell in love with the game and can't wait for it to come out. Rachel watched the playthrough as well, and again is really excited about the game. And it's a game called Monsters on Board.
Oh.
Yeah, which is it's by Final Frontier Games. It's got dice drafting. It's a festival for I can't remember the character's name. It's Spider something. But anyway, what you do is you draft dice at the beginning, and they brought out it's quite high production value in the fact that they've now released these like plastic cars that the dice come in, and these are like these lords that come into this party. You'll take a dice and then pass the car to the next person, and etc. And then when you assign these dice, as you assign them, the color then moves these monster grunts through this town. And it's like a race through this town, and the characters look really cool on it. You then will bring the dice down onto this section below, where you've got a secret scoring for how you set the dice. You'll have one dice that you don't set, and then that becomes a value that you can spend on cards. And there's a lot going on in the game, but it looks quite cute. It looks like it's quite involved. And yeah, when I watched the playthrough, it just, everything about it I just like straight away. And just can't wait for it to come out.
I'm just asking for a friend. Are they like little meeples with stickers on for the monsters? Just asking for a friend.
No, and they're not sun-dropped either, unfortunately. And they don't stick to the wall and slide down.
Oh.
I'd say I'm cancelling it.
For that reason, I'm out.
I do think that this one could be like, I think it slipped under the radar because it did look too childish. The whole theme was quite child friendly. It looked like, and I think that might have put certain people off. But like Jay said, I think there's a bit more to it. Weirdly,
because when I was looking for the list and looked on the Kickstarter, it didn't do. Compared to a lot of Kickstarters out there, I think it only did about 200,000 that it made, which in Kickstarter terms is not a massive amount. And I was quite surprised at that because, but I think you're right. It does look quite cutesy, but I think the gameplay itself is far from it. But yeah, it looks really good.
That's the same guys that's my number 3, Merchant's Cove. Same designers, right. Yes, Final Frontier Games. Yes. And you're right that Final Frontier, the Merchant's Cove, made just over double what Monsters on Board did. So I think the theme killed them a little bit.
Yeah,
it's a shame that, isn't it? That people couldn't see past the theme, perhaps. Yeah, when people try and do something different, they kind of,
If only they'd themed it around Furnace, the same premise as Furnace. That would have been good, Steve.
That
What was
the
theme of Furnace? Just remind us.
It was 19th century industrial capitalization.
I mean,
I'd have backed it. I would
you
have.
You can't really beat that.
No. I mean,
I don't think
everyone's number one. Let's be honest.
So let us know in the comments below what your anticipated games are of 2021. Let us know if you've thought about or if what we've said about our anticipated games has tickled your fancy. You think you might want to check those out, or if you completely disagree and think all our choices are absolute garbage, Steve's, for example. And send us comments in and subscribe and like below. I say that, but
you don't have to let us know whether you thought John's Everdell was all right, because he'll see it when he gets his statement through on all the. You've made this much money.
I say that actually, but I take the mick out of Steve's game, but I don't think I've played a game with Steve that I haven't enjoyed. I don't know. I know we don't play a lot of games together, but there've been very few games where I've sat down, and usually I sit down and play a game with Steve, and I'm like, oh my god, what is this game? But then I come out going, actually, that was really quite fun. So
I think that's more a reflection of Steve in general, though, rather than the game itself. Obviously in a good way. I mean,
yeah. Initially, you don't want to sit down with him.
It's less important than your first thought.
Maybe just before we sign off, I did actually put a shout out within the club for everybody else's most anticipated games of 2021.
I saw that.
Did more than 3 people answer? Or?
That's a fair few people answered.
Did you get a few? Because last time I looked, there weren't very many.
Well, all right, John, sure. So there was a clear winner.
Which was
Frosthaven. Was
really
number one.
By how many
people voted multiple times?
I didn't vote on it anyway, so it doesn't matter. But the second one though, Tiny Epic Pirates. I don't know how that got sneaked in there.
Simon
puts in all the Tiny Epic everything.
Simon must have created a few accounts, voted that one up. That was a bit strange. And then there was
how many people voted for that?
Tiny Epic
Just
Pirates.
Simon.
2. Simon obviously.
It's a good statistical.
Was it Simon and Simon's missus? Simon's 2 girls.
Just Andy as well, Andy.
So
and then the rest there was a draw after that. Loads have got 1 vote. Nothing that we particularly mentioned, but just Dirty Money. Never heard of that. They Live, Stargrave, Blood on the Clock Tower, which obviously we played a lot of.
Played a lot. Check out our video.
Check the video. The links
below.
Somewhere.
Hopefully.
Don't do that. I'm editing over
there. Tiny Epic Dungeon, Dinosaur World, and Merchants of the Dark Road were all on there. So there was a fair few people throwing games in, but just not a lot of overlaps.
I consider Merchants of the Dark Road.
I've got that one coming.
Before I stop the recording, let us know in the comments also if you'd like us to do a video about anything in particular as well. If you have ideas of videos you'd like to see or content you'd like to see. I personally had an idea, or we were bouncing around an idea here about the top game that you've played in lockdown, which might be a one. So it might lead you to if lockdown continues or we carry on with restrictions, might be something that helps people find a good game for lockdown, whether that be because it's solo or it's something you can play at home with the family. And I think it might be an idea. It might be an idea to do games that you can play with your kids. A lot of stuff we talk about very often tends to be quite complex board games or quite heavy board games, and ones that are quite difficult for young children, in particular, to get their heads around. So things that are potentially might do a video that things that are good for kids that are not like Hungry Hippos or whatever. Actually decent board games that you'll enjoy sitting down and playing with your kids, but are quite useful quite easy for them to play. Recently, just on that note, I played Labyrinth, the board game, which is based on the movie, which our 6-year-old loved. But it's not particularly heavy in terms of the game. It's very talisman-y. You roll a die and you go one way.
I'm glad they enjoyed it, but that's probably one of the worst games I've played in the last 3 years, I think.
Yeah,
but
I'm glad that
I'm glad that people do enjoy it because obviously everybody loves the movie, don't they? So
Yeah.
I'm glad that they found it.
Yeah.
I think probably it's not aimed at our
No, there's not
game.
a lot of game there, but it's one that you are quite happy to see. I wouldn't play it with, obviously, Zoe and I wouldn't sit down and play it by ourselves, but it's one where if the kids suggest it, we're not like, do you know what I mean? There's some games where the kids are like, oh, can we play this? And we're like, okay, you know what I mean? You're not going to say no, but you kind of dread it. But there's one or two games. I mean, we've mentioned one today as well, Stuffed Fables. One or two games where the kids will say, "Oh, should we play that?" And it's like, "Yeah, actually, I don't mind playing that." Or it's not a bad game. Yeah. So we might do a video on that potentially. Things that are good for you know, as an adult, you're quite happy to play it, and the kids can play it, as opposed to kids games tend to be either really, really like Labyrinth a bit where you wouldn't want to play it by yourself, but it's great for the kids, or just really basic things like dexterity games like Cobra Paw, which I play quite a lot with the kids, but it's, you know, it's just a dexterity game. So it's quite a niche thing that of a board game that you as an adult are quite happy to sit down with your kids and play and don't mind playing it. So we could potentially do a video on that. But as I say, if you have any other ideas, people watching this, post your comments and things you'd like us to have a look at in terms of videos. Obviously flood us with comments on we'd like to see more of Stefan reviewing miniatures games and miniatures, because obviously that's what you all want to watch.
I Everdell.
And and John talking more about Everdell, please.
Yeah, is that one?